The rain had been falling for hours, a steady, relentless curtain that blurred the street lights into golden smears. Leah pulled her coat tighter as she hurried down the empty road, clutching the small brown notebook to her chest. Every few steps, she looked over her shoulder. She could swear someone was following her. The storm drowned out everything, even her heartbeat, until she turned the last corner toward the old bookstore. Its windows glowed faintly, warm and inviting, a single refuge in the rain. She pushed open the door, the bell chiming softly. "Rough night," the shopkeeper said from behind the counter, barely glancing up from his ledger. Leah nodded, brushing water from her hair. "Just needed somewhere dry." The man grunted, uninterested. Shelves of forgotten stories loomed around her, the air thick with paper and dust. She wandered to the back of the shop, to the small reading table where she'd spent so many afternoons hiding from the world. That was when she saw him. A man, tall, broad-shouldered, standing near the history section, his clothes dark with rain. He turned slightly as she entered, and for a second their eyes met. Gray eyes. Cold, unreadable. The kind of eyes that saw too much. "Didn't he mean to scare you?" he said, voice low, almost musical. "You didn't he?" she lied. He studied her for a moment, then his gaze dropped to the small notebook she held. Something flickered across his face. Recognition. "That's quite an old book," he said. "It's mine," she replied quickly. "Are you sure?" Leah frowned. "What do you mean?" He took a slow step closer, rain still dripping from his hair. "Because that notebook belonged to my brother. He died 7 years ago." The room seemed to shrink. "That's impossible," she whispered. He reached into his coat and pulled out a worn photograph, a young man smiling beside a car, holding the same notebook. Her notebook. Leah's breath caught. "Where did you get that?" "It was found after the fire," he said quietly. "Along with a letter addressed to someone named Leah Carter." Her hands trembled. "That's me." He exhaled, a strange mixture of relief and sadness in his voice. "Then you're the reason I came here." The silence between them thickened. The rain outside intensified, lashing against the glass like restless fingers. Leah stared at the notebook, her most guarded secret, and suddenly, the weight of all the unanswered questions pressed down on her. "Who are you?" she finally asked. He hesitated, then extended his hand. "Elias." "She didn't he take it?" "Why now after all this time?" "Because," he said, voice barely audible, "someone's been looking for that notebook. And they'll kill to get it." Leah's stomach twisted. "You're not making sense." He moved closer, lowering his voice. "That notebook, it's not just paper and ink. It's evidence. My brother wasn't he who you thought he was, and whatever he hid in those pages, it's the reason he died." Her mind raced. For years, she'd believed the notebook was a keepsake, a piece of a love story that ended too soon. Now, it felt like a ticking bomb in her hands. "Why should I believe you?" she demanded. Elias's eyes softened. "Because the people who killed him know your name, too. And they're already here." The doorbell chimed again, the sound sharp, out of place. Leah turned. 2 figures in dark coats stepped inside, their faces shadowed, rain glistening on their gloves. Elias cursed under his breath. Too late. He grabbed her hand. "Come with me. Now." Leah hesitated, torn between fear and disbelief. "Where are we going?" "Somewhere safe," he said. "And then, you're going to tell me what's written in that notebook." She clutched it tighter. I don't even know myself. Then let us find out together, he said, pulling her toward the back door as thunder rolled overhead. The rain swallowed them both as they disappeared into the alley. Behind them, the bookstore light flickered once, then went out. The road twisted through the forest like a serpent, slick with rain and shadow. The old pickup truck rattled with every bump, its headlights cutting through the mist in pale, trembling beams. Leah sat in the passenger seat, soaked, cold, and silent. Elias drove like a man who knew exactly where danger lived and how to stay one step ahead of it. After nearly an hour, the rain eased, though fog still clung to the trees like breath on glass. The truck slowed, turning onto a dirt path swallowed by pines. "Where are we?" Leah finally asked. "Someplace forgotten," he replied. "No signal. No neighbors. No easy way to track us. That's supposed to make me feel safe." He gave a faint, humorless smile. "Safer than being dead." The cabin appeared through the fog-weathered wood, broken shutters, a roof sagging under the weight of time. Elias parked beside it and killed the engine. For a moment, there was only silence, the kind that pressed on the chest, heavy and alive. Leah hesitated before getting out. "You've been here before." He glanced at her. "How would you know that?" "The way you looked at it. Like it remembers you." Elias didn't answer. He grabbed a duffel from the back seat, then unlocked the cabin door with a key that looked far too old to still work. Inside, the air smelled of pine, dust, and faint traces of smoke. There were no lights, only a fireplace filled with cold ashes and a single lantern on a table. Leah stood near the doorway, holding the notebook close. "You said your brother owned this. Was he hiding here too?" Elias set the duffel down, then struck a match and lit the lantern. Shadows danced across the walls. No. This was where he was supposed to meet someone. Someone who never came. She frowned. "Who?" "That's what I'm trying to find out." Leah moved closer to the table, opening the notebook for the first time since they fled the bookstore. The pages were filled with messy handwriting, sketches, and coded symbols. One page in particular caught her eye, a map drawn in blue ink, its edges smudged with something darker. She traced a finger along the lines. "This place, this forest, it's on here." Elias leaned in, his breath warm against her shoulder. "Then maybe he left us more than we thought." For a moment, their eyes met, the first quiet moment since the chase began. Leah saw something in him she hadn't before: exhaustion, grief, maybe guilt. "Tell me the truth," she said. "Was your brother really who he said he was?" Elias hesitated, then said softly, "No. He worked for them. The men who came after us." He nodded. "He thought he could walk away. But nobody walks away from an organization built on secrets." Leah's pulse quickened. "What kind of secrets?" "The kind that end up written in blood," he said. She shut the notebook, the sound sharp in the stillness. "And you think this can expose them?" "I think it already did," Elias replied. "And that's why they killed him." He turned away, pacing near the fire. Leah studied him, the tension in his shoulders, the way he rubbed his thumb over an old scar near his wrist. There was something haunted about him, something that didn't fit neatly into the role of savior. "You're hiding something," she said quietly. He froze. "You think so?" "I don't think. I know." Elias exhaled, sitting on the edge of the table. "If I told you everything, you'd never trust me." "Then give me a reason to." He met her gaze, and for a moment, it felt like the air itself tightened between them. My brother didn't he die in that fire, Leah? Not completely. Her eyes widened. What do you mean? Elias looked toward the window. Outside, the trees swayed in the wind, whispering secrets to the night. There are pieces of him everywhere, in what he wrote, in what he built. And maybe, in me. She stared at him, unsettled. In you. He didn't answer. Instead, he opened the duffel bag and pulled out a small device, a voice recorder, old but functional. He pressed play. Static crackled. Then, a familiar voicemail, calm, but trembling at the edges. If you're hearing this, it means they found me. I tried to keep her safe, but the notebook isn't just a record. It's a key. Don't let her read page 72. The recording stopped. Leah's heart hammered. That was your brother. Elias nodded slowly. And now you understand why I had to find you first. She flipped open the notebook, her hands shaking, turning to the page in question. Don't, Elias said sharply. But it was too late. The page was blank at first. Then, under the lantern light, faint lines began to appear, words burned into the paper as if by invisible fire. Her breath hitched. It's reacting to the light. Elias stepped forward, voice tight. Leah, put it down. She looked up at him, eyes wide, frightened. What is this? He hesitated, the shadows cutting across his face like cracks in stone. Something my brother died to keep hidden. Something you were never supposed to see. The wind howled outside, shaking the windows. And from the woods beyond the cabin, a single gunshot shattered the night. The echo of the gunshot tore through the cabin like lightning. Leah froze, her breath caught halfway in her chest. Outside, the forest fell silent, not even the wind dared to move. Elias was already at the window, gun in hand. Stay down, he whispered. Who was that? He scanned the darkness. They found us. Leah ducked behind the table, clutching the notebook so hard her knuckles turned white. How you said this place couldn't be tracked? I said almost couldn't. Elias's jaw tightened. If they have the right tech, they can follow any signal, even a spark from a match. Another shot rang out, closer this time. The window splintered, spraying glass across the floor. Leah flinched. Elias grabbed her wrist and pulled her toward the back door. Through the trees, he said. There's a trail. Keep low. They burst into the rain-soaked night. Mud clung to their boots, the cold biting through their clothes. Leah's lungs burned as they ran, branches whipping across her arms. Behind them came the crunch of footsteps, distant but closing in. After what felt like hours, Elias stopped by an outcropping of rocks. He gestured for her to crouch. They'll sweep the area. We waited out. Leah sank beside him, shivering. The notebook lay between them, damp but intact. She whispered, "What's on page 72? He didn't answer. His gaze stayed fixed on the forest. You shouldn't have seen it. But I did, she said. And I saw something appear. Words burned into the paper. His head turned sharply. What words? I couldn't read them all. Just, 2 names. Mine. And yours. Elias's eyes darkened. That's impossible. It's what I saw. He ran a hand through his wet hair, muttering under his breath. He said it couldn't activate without a catalyst. What catalyst? He met her gaze, voice barely audible. Blood. Leah recoiled slightly. You're saying my blood triggered it? Maybe not just yours, Elias said. My brother coded his research with bioreactive ink, only the linked bloodlines could unlock it. Linked, she whispered. You mean, we're related? Not by family, he said slowly. By something older. The silence stretched, heavy with unspoken fear. Then, faintly, Leah heard movement again, the soft crunch of boots over wet leaves. They're close, Elias said. We move. He grabbed her hand and they sprinted deeper into the woods. The trees thickened, the darkness swallowing them whole. Ahead, a faint light flickered, a small, ruined chapel half buried in ivy. Elias kicked open the door, motioning her inside. The interior was colder than the night outside. Wooden pews lay shattered, and the air smelled of damp stone. At the far end, a rusted iron cross leaned against the wall. Leah caught her breath. What is this place? Where it all began, he said quietly. Elias knelt beside the altar and pried up a loose board, revealing a metal box wrapped in oilcloth. He opened it carefully. Inside were photographs, old documents, and another small notebook identical to hers. Leah stepped closer. There's another one. This was his, Elias said. The original. He flipped through the pages quickly, stopping when he found an entry marked with the same symbol as page 72. The handwriting was hurried, desperate. If Leah finds this, tell her the truth. Tell her about the night in Vienna. Her stomach twisted. Vienna? I've never been there. Elias's expression hardened. Not in this life. Before she could ask what he meant, thunder rolled outside, but it wasn't thunder. Engines. Multiple. He slammed the box shut. They're here. Leah grabbed his arm. We can't just keep running. Would you rather die standing still? He snapped. She met his gaze, trembling but defiant. No, I want answers. He hesitated, torn between fear and something else, something fragile. You'll get them, he said. But not here. As they stepped toward the back door, the chapel's windows exploded inward. Bullets tore through the air, splintering wood and stone. Elias shoved Leah behind the altar, firing twice toward the shadows. One of the intruders fell. Another kept coming. Leah's mind screamed, this can't be happening. But even as she hid, her fingers brushed against the notebook again and she felt heat. Real heat, like the page itself was alive. She flipped it open under the dim light. The words that had burned into page 72 now pulsed faintly, as if written in fire. The one who reads this will remember. Leah stared, the words burning into her vision, and in that instant, memories she didn't know she had slammed into her mind. Faces. Voices. Flames. Elias's brother smiling at her across a cafe table. She gasped, clutching her head. Elias turned. Leah. I remember him, she whispered. I knew your brother. His face went pale. What did you say? I knew him, she repeated, voice breaking. He told me to keep the notebook safe. He said you'd come for it one day. Elias froze, the gun still in his hand, but forgotten. Outside, another engine roared closer. He whispered, then this was never about the notebook. Leah blinked through the haze of memory. Then what was it about? He met her eyes and for the first time, she saw real fear there. You, he said. It was always about you. The rain had stopped by morning, but the forest still dripped with its memory. Mist hung low between the trees, curling around the broken chapel like a ghost that refused to leave. Leah sat against the cracked stone wall, her head in her hands. Sleep had come and gone in fleeting fragments, chased away by flashes of memory that didn't belong to her. Elias moved quietly near the doorway, checking his weapon, his movements practiced and silent. His shirt was torn, a dark bruise spreading across his ribs where a bullet had grazed him the night before. "You need rest," she said softly. He didn't look up. "So do you." "I can't," Leah admitted. "Every time I close my eyes, I see things, memories, faces I shouldn't recognize. Your brother, the fire, a city that feels familiar." Elias finally turned, his gray eyes weary. "That's what the notebook does. It's not just words, Leah. It's a memory map, one your mind is trying to unlock." She stared at him. "You knew this would happen." "I hoped it wouldn't," he said quietly. "But once you activated the hidden page, there was no stopping it." Leah looked down at the notebook resting on her lap. The cover was still damp, the edges charred where the words had burned themselves into being. "Why would your brother put this in my hands?" Elias hesitated, then sat beside her. "Because you were part of it once." She frowned. "Part of what?" He drew in a long breath. "There was a research project years ago, Project Echo. A classified program studying memory transfer through genetic imprinting. My brother worked for them. He believed memories could be encoded in DNA, passed from one person to another." Leah blinked, disbelief flickering across her face. "You're saying I have someone else's memories?" "Not someone else's," Elias said. "Yours. From before the fire. From before you were made to forget." Her pulse quickened. "That's impossible." "Is it?" he said, his tone low, intense. "How else do you explain remembering a man you never met, a place you never visited?" She shook her head. No, I was a teacher, a normal person. I had a life." "You had a cover," he cut in. "A life built to protect you from what you once knew." Leah's eyes filled with tears she didn't understand. "So who am I really?" Elias hesitated, then reached into his jacket and pulled out a folded photograph. He handed it to her. It showed 4 people standing in front of a glass building, 2 men, 2 women. One of the women was Leah. Younger, smiling, holding the same notebook. Leah's breath caught. "That's me. And that's my brother," Elias said, pointing to the man beside her. "The others are Dr. Voss," and he paused, his expression tightening. "Silas." The name hit her like a cold wind. "Silas. The man who's been hunting us." "The same. He was part of the project too. But when the experiments began to fail, he saw another way to use them. He thought if he could control the memory transfers, he could rewrite the past and anyone's mind with it." Leah looked up sharply. "Rewrite it how?" "Erase guilt. Rewrite loyalty. Create obedience." Her stomach turned. "And I was part of that." "You were the countermeasure," Elias said. "You developed the fail-safe, a code embedded in your own DNA. You called it the Echo Lock. It prevents forced transfers. That's why Silas needs you alive." She stared at him, her voice barely a whisper. "And why he killed your brother?" Elias nodded slowly. "My brother refused to hand over the key. He encoded everything into your notebook and hid it where only you could find it." Leah ran a trembling hand over the notebook's cover. "And now, all this time, I've been carrying it?" "Not just carrying it," Elias said quietly. Guarding it? They sat in silence for a long moment, the weight of the truth pressing between them. Then Leah whispered, "You knew who I was from the start, didn't you?" Elias's jaw tightened. Yes. She looked away, her chest tightening. So all this finding me, saving me, it wasn't about helping me. It was about the notebook. It started that way, he admitted. But it isn't anymore. Leah stood, her voice shaking. How can I believe that? Elias rose too, stepping closer. Because I had orders to bring you in alive. And instead, I burned the orders. The air between them felt electric, charged with something that neither danger nor exhaustion could erase. Leah's eyes met his, searching for lies and finding only regret. Why, she asked. He hesitated. Because I couldn't watch them destroy you again. Before she could speak, a sound echoed from the woods, the faint crack of a twig, followed by the soft hum of a drone. Elias's eyes flicked upward. They've found us. Leah turned toward the door. We have to go. No, he said. Running won't help now. There's only one way to end this. What way? Elias reached into his jacket and pulled out a small silver vial, its surface etched with the same symbol as the notebook's first page. Leah frowned. What is that? The serum your team created, he said. The one that can unlock every memory you've lost. But it comes with a cost. Her pulse quickened. What cost? If you take it, you'll remember everything. Every truth, every lie. But once you do, you can't go back to who you are now. Leah stared at the vial, torn between fear and the aching need for answers. And if I don't? Then Silas wins. He'll rewrite history again, and this time, there won't be a second chance. Outside, engines roared in the distance, the sound growing louder. Elias stepped closer, pressing the vial into her hand. It's your choice, Leah. Remember, or run. She looked up at him, rain starting to fall again, cool against her skin. Will you be with me if I choose to remember, she asked. His expression softened, the hardened soldier fading for a moment into something human. Always, Leah exhaled, her decision made. She uncapped the vial, the metallic scent sharp in the air. Leah, Elias began, but she had already lifted it to her lips. The liquid burned like fire. And then, the world went white. The rain had stopped hours ago, but the air still smelled of thunder and wet earth. Leah woke to the faint crackle of firelight, her breath catching as her eyes fluttered open. The cabin ceiling swam above her, a haze of wood and shadow. For a long moment, she didn't know where she was. Then memory returned in fragments, the serum, the tremor in Elias's voice, the surge of something electric in her veins. She sat up slowly, wincing. Every muscle ached. Her skin burned like it was remembering another life. Elias was there, sitting in the corner, his head bowed, hands clasped tight as if in prayer. The firelight drew sharp edges across his face, deepening the lines around his eyes. You shouldn't move, he said quietly, not looking at her. Leah's voice was hoarse. I feel strange. I know. He rose, crossing the room with deliberate care, like he feared startling her. The serum is meant to unlock memory, not cause pain. But with you. His voice trailed off, uncertain. She blinked at him. With me what? Elias hesitated. It reacted differently. Her gaze darted to the table beside her. A small vial lay there, half empty. Its contents glimmered faintly like moonlight trapped in liquid. "Did you know this would happen?" "No," he said, too fast. "Not like this." Something in his tone made her chest tighten. "Then what did you expect?" "I expected you to remember," he said, finally meeting her eyes. "Just, not everything." Leah frowned. "Everything." He turned toward the window, his silhouette etched against the dim blue dawn. "You were never supposed to find out all at once. The past, the pact, the reason Silas wants the notebook, it's all bound to you. To your blood." The words hung heavy in the air. "My blood," she echoed. "Elias, what are you saying?" He looked back at her, and this time, there was no mask, no calm restraint. Only weariness and something close to sorrow. "Leah, the notebook wasn't your father's," he said softly. "It was yours." She stared at him, uncomprehending. "That's impossible." "You wrote it," he continued, stepping closer. "Years ago. Before everything was erased." The world seemed to tilt. "You're lying." "I wish I were." He crouched beside her bed, lowering his voice. "Your father tried to protect you. When he found out what the organization had done, what they planned to use your research for, he wiped your memory. Hid you under a new name. That's why Silas wants you back. Not for the notebook, but for what's inside you." Her pulse hammered. "Inside me?" "Your serum," Elias whispered. "It's not just a formula. It's alive." The room spun. Leah pressed a hand to her forehead, fragments flashing behind her eyes, the sterile gleam of a lab, the hum of machines, her own handwriting scrawled across a page. "Memory is not lost, it is locked." Then a flash fire, shouting, a hand reaching for her. Her breath hitched. "I remember," screaming. Elias reached out, but stopped just short of touching her. "You were trying to destroy your own work. But Silas stopped you. He wanted control over what you'd made, a way to rewrite human memory." Leah shook her head. "No. No, I wouldn't." "You did," he said gently. "Because you thought it could save people. Because you believed the past didn't have to define them. You wanted to give them peace." Tears stung her eyes. "Then why does it feel like I did something terrible?" "Because they twisted it," Elias said. "Used it to erase loyalty, rewrite obedience. Turned your gift into a weapon." Silence fell deep and aching. The fire popped softly, scattering sparks across the hearth. Leah looked down at her hands, they were trembling. "And you, how do you fit into all this?" He didn't answer right away. Instead, he walked to the shelf and took down a small wooden box. When he opened it, the scent of cedar filled the room. Inside lay a thin, worn photograph, two people standing in a field of tall grass. A younger Leah. And beside her, Elias. She stared at it. "That's before the erasure," he said. "Before I became their spy." She looked up sharply. "Their spy?" He nodded once. "They sent me to find you. To gain your trust. But somewhere along the way." His jaw clenched. "I couldn't keep lying." Leah's throat tightened. "So this everything was just a mission?" "At first," Elias admitted. "But when I realized who you were, what you'd done, I couldn't hand you over." The firelight flickered between them, painting shadows across his face. Leah's heartbeat thudded in her ears. "Why didn't you tell me?" "Because the moment you remembered," he said, voice breaking, "you'd hate me." A tear slid down her cheek. You think I don't already? Elias looked away, silent. For a long moment, neither spoke. Outside, the wind whispered through the trees. Inside, time seemed to hold its breath. Then Leah whispered, "So what happens now?" He turned back, eyes glinting with something fierce protectiveness, maybe love, maybe guilt. "Now we finish what you started. We find Silas. And we destroy what's left of the project." Leah nodded slowly, her expression unreadable. "And if I can't remember enough to do that?" Elias stepped closer, his voice low. "Then I'll help you remember. But this time, no more lies." Their eyes met, a fragile truce forming in the ashes of truth. But somewhere outside, in the whispering dark beyond the cabin walls, another presence stirred, watching. Waiting. The storm wasn't over. It had only just begun. The valley still breathed with the memory of stormlight. A pale fog threaded through the black pines, gathering in hollows like a thought that refused to fade. Leah moved behind Elias along the narrow path, her boots sinking softly into the wet moss. Every step seemed to echo too loudly. Every sound of the forest, the crack of branches, the sigh of wind, carried a question she didn't want to answer. They hadn't spoken since leaving the cabin. Behind them, smoke curled from the dying fire, a single thin ribbon against the gray dawn. Leah didn't look back. The air between them felt different now, thinner, stretched tight by the weight of things unsaid. Elias walked with his usual quiet precision, but she could sense the restlessness beneath it, like a storm waiting for its cue. He had that soldier's stillness, the kind that came from years of watching for movement before the bullet came. When the silence finally broke, it was her voice that did it. "Where are we going?" He didn't turn. "To the old observatory." She frowned. "That ruin on the ridge?" "There's something under it," he said. "A vault. Hidden before the collapse. It used to be your lab." She stopped. "My lab?" The word tasted wrong in her mouth. "You mean their lab?" He finally faced her, his expression unreadable in the thin light. "No," he said quietly. "Yours." The path fell silent again. Birds stirred high in the branches, their wings flashing through the mist. Leah stared at him, the chill of the morning seeping through her coat. "You think I'm just going to walk back into the place where they wiped me clean?" she said. His jaw tightened. "You don't have a choice. What's left of your research is there. If Silas finds it first, he finishes what he started." The name hit like a bruise. "And what did he start, exactly?" Elias's eyes shifted away. "You already know," he murmured. "No," she said. "I don't. You keep saying I used to be someone, that I built something, but all I have are fragments. Dreams. Faces that vanish when I wake. If you know what he did to me, then say it." He hesitated, then said softly, "Silas was your partner." Her breath caught. "Partner?" "Before the erasure," he said. "You created the serum together. He wanted control. You wanted freedom. When you refused to weaponize it, he turned on you." She stared at him, the words sliding cold into her chest. "So I trusted him once." Elias nodded. "And he betrayed you." A laugh escaped her, brittle as glass. "Seems betrayal follows me around." He flinched, almost imperceptibly. They walked again, the path descending into a hollow where mist gathered thick as milk. The first light crept over the mountains, brushing the treetops with silver. When the ruins of the observatory appeared, It looked less like a building and more like a wound, the dome fractured, the glass panels dull with ash and time. Inside, dust drifted like snow. Broken machines lay half buried under vines. The air smelled faintly of metal and rain. Leah's fingers grazed the edge of a rusted console, tracing grooves worn by a hand that felt too familiar to be someone else's. "It feels like I've been here before," she whispered. "You have," Elias said. She turned, searching his face. "Then why does it feel like I'm trespassing?" He didn't answer. She moved deeper into the ruin, each step stirring echoes. On the far wall, beneath a collapsed shelf, a cracked mirror caught the light. For a moment she saw herself reflected, her hair wild from the wind, her eyes too bright, too uncertain. But behind her reflection, she saw movement. "Elias," she said. He was already reaching for his weapon. "I see it." A low hum filled the air, electric, rising. From the shadows at the edge of the room, a voice spoke. "Still breaking into your own lab, I see." Leah froze. The figure that stepped into the light was tall, composed, and impossibly calm. Silas. His coat was immaculate despite the ruin, his eyes a gray so pale they seemed to catch the world's color and hold it hostage. "Leah," he said, with a softness that made her stomach turn. "You look just like I remember." Her mouth went dry. "You should be dead." His smile deepened. "So they tell me. But you of all people should know, death has never been good at keeping what it owes." Elias's gun rose, steady and silent. "Stay back." Silas's gaze flicked toward him, amused. "Still guarding her, are you? How loyal? Tell me, Elias, has she remembered yet?" Leah's heartbeat thundered. What is he talking about? "Don't listen to him," Elias said sharply. Silas stepped closer, his boots scraping across the broken floor. "Oh, come now. She deserves to know who pulled the trigger." Leah felt the world tilt. "What trigger?" Elias's hand trembled. "Silas, stop." But Silas's smile only widened. "The night of the fire. The night she tried to destroy her work. You stopped her, didn't you? And when she wouldn't listen." He tilted his head. "You shot her." The words fell like stones into a lake. Leah's breath hitched. "No." Elias's voice cracked. "It wasn't supposed to. I didn't mean to." She took a step back. "You said you found me after the fire." "I did," he whispered. "After I pulled you out." Her chest ached, a slow, cold pain spreading through her ribs. "You lied to me." Silas chuckled, a low sound that filled the room. "He lies to everyone, my dear. That's what makes him so very good at surviving." Leah's eyes burned. "Don't come near me," she said, voice shaking. "Leah, please," Elias began. "You let me believe I was just another victim," she said. "When all along, you were the reason I lost everything." "I was trying to save you," Elias said. "Silas would have." She cut him off, her voice raw. "And you did it for him anyway." Silas smiled faintly. "Ah. There it is. Truth always such a bitter medicine." For a moment, no one moved. Then Leah's voice came again, steady despite the tremor beneath it. "Why bring me here, Silas, to finish your story?" He stepped closer, his eyes gleaming like mercury. "To finish yours. You can't destroy the serum, Leah. You are the serum." Her pulse stuttered. "What are you talking about? The formula you both created wasn't just chemical, Silas said. It was genetic. You bound it to yourself. That's why it survived the fire. Why you survived the erasure. Elias took a step forward. Enough. Silas's gaze flicked toward him, almost pitying. Still pretending you can protect her from what she is. Before anyone could speak again, the ground trembled. Dust rained from the ceiling. From the far end of the corridor came the rhythmic thud of boots 2, 3, then more. Men in black tactical gear emerged through the smoke, rifles raised. Down. Elias shouted, pulling Leah behind the console. Bullets tore through glass and metal, scattering sparks. Silas moved with eerie calm, stepping aside as though the chaos had been rehearsed. When the noise faded, Elias lay on the ground, breathing hard, his weapon empty. Two of the soldiers closed in. The butt of a rifle struck his temple. He crumpled. Leah screamed. Silas turned toward her, unhurried, adjusting the cuff of his sleeve. Don't worry, he said softly. I won't kill him. Not yet. He signaled one of the men. A needle gleamed. Leah tried to fight, but her arms felt heavy, her vision already blurring. Silas leaned close, his voice a whisper. Welcome back, Doctor. The world went dark. Darkness was not empty. It breathed. It pulsed. It remembered. When Leah opened her eyes, the world felt distant, like she was seeing it through water. The ceiling above her was white, seamless, humming faintly with fluorescent light. The air smelled sterile, sharp, metallic. Her wrists were bound by thin restraints, not metal but something softer, more deliberate. She tried to move, but her body felt heavy. Sedated. Her voice came out as a whisper. Elias. The silence answered her. Then came the faint sound of footsteps, slow, deliberate, approaching across polished concrete. Good, a voice said. You're awake. Silas appeared at her side, his reflection bending in the curved glass wall. He looked untouched by time or guilt, his suit pressed, his eyes impossibly calm. In his hands was a small silver tray holding a syringe filled with translucent liquid. Where am I? She managed. Home, he said simply. Where it all began. She glanced around. The lab was nothing like the ruined observatory. This place was alive, pulsing with light and quiet machinery. Rows of monitors displayed lines of data, neural maps, DNA strands that seemed to shimmer. At the far end of the room, a glass tank glowed faintly blue, like a heart suspended in liquid. Her pulse quickened. You rebuilt it? I preserved it, Silas corrected. After you tried to burn it down. Leah's throat felt dry. Why bring me back here? Silas set the tray down, studying her with an almost fond expression. Because you left me no choice. The serum was never meant to die with you. I'm not your experiment, she said. He smiled faintly. You're not an experiment, Leah. You're the equation. She turned her face away, trying to steady her breath. Where's Elias? Alive, Silas said, as if it were a detail of no consequence. In containment. He'll stay there until you finish what you started. She met his gaze, cold fury building behind the fog in her mind. I'm not doing anything for you. Of course you are, he said softly. You always do, once you remember why. He pressed a button on the console beside her. The restraints loosened with a whisper. She could move again, but she didn't. Not yet. A low hum filled the room as a holographic projection bloomed to life between them, a figure of light shaped like her own neural scan. Her memories. Fractured, scattered, looping endlessly in the digital glow. Silas gestured to it. You see the breaks, the missing segments, that's where the erasure hit. Elias thought he was saving you by removing what you built. But he only made you weaker. Leah stared at the flickering patterns. And you want to fix it? I want to restore you, Silas said. The real you. The mind that saw what the world couldn't. Her eyes flicked to the syringe. And that's supposed to help. He picked it up, holding it against the light. A refined version of your own serum. Your design perfected. She hesitated. And if I refuse? Silas leaned closer, voice calm and precise. Then Elias dies for nothing. The words cut deeper than the restraints ever could. For a moment, she let silence fill the space. Her reflection in the glass looked like a ghost, pale, hollow-eyed, trembling between fear and rage. Finally, she said quietly, you want me to remember, fine. But you should know memory cuts both ways. He smiled, as if the outcome were already written. I'm counting on it. He injected the serum into the port at her arm. A rush of cold fire surged through her veins. The room tilted. Sound fractured. The lights above blurred into spirals. She gasped, clutching the side of the table as the world dissolved around her. Then came the memories. Not flashes, but floods. Firelight red against the glass. Elias shouting her name through the smoke. Silas standing beside her, calm even as the lab burned. Her own hands, shaking as she poured the vial into the console, hitting erase. The gunshot. The smell of metal and blood and ozone. Her knees hit the floor. In the memory, she saw herself turn not toward Silas, but toward Elias. He was crying. I had to, he said. They were going to take you. Then darkness swallowed it all. Leah opened her eyes again, gasping. The lab snapped back into focus. Silas stood watching her, hands clasped behind his back. Now you remember, he said softly. She shook her head, disoriented. I remember you both. Her voice broke. You used me. Both of you. Silas tilted his head. You call it use. I call it purpose. Something inside her hardened. She stood unsteady, but standing. Where's Elias? In the lower wing, he said. But I wouldn't waste your pity. He's the reason your mind broke in the first place. Leah stepped closer until she was almost within reach. No, she said quietly. The reason my mind broke was because I believed either of you cared. The sharpness in her voice drew his first flicker of unease. Before he could reply, alarms blared sharp, red, metallic. The lights flickered. Silas turned sharply toward the console. What did you? Leah held up the small silver device she pulled from the table. Fail safe, she said. Guess I built more than one way to end this. The room trembled. Power surged through the monitors. Data bled across the screens in a storm of color, her code, unraveling itself. Leah. Silas shouted. Stop this. You'll destroy everything. That's the point. He lunged, but she moved first, grabbing the syringe and slamming it against the wall, shattering the glass. The liquid hissed as it hit the ground. The tremors grew stronger. Sparks burst from the ceiling. She could barely see through the smoke. Then she saw him. Elias stumbling through the far doorway, blood on his forehead, his shirt torn. His eyes found hers through the chaos. "Leah!" he shouted. She froze. For one heartbeat, everything stopped: the sound, the light, even the air. Silas turned toward him, rage flaring in his face. "You should have stayed down." He drew his gun. Leah moved without thinking. She threw herself between them. The shot went wide, ricocheting off the glass and burying itself in the console. A shower of sparks rained down. Elias reached her, grabbing her hand. "We have to go." But she didn't move. Her gaze was locked on Silas, who stood amid the smoke, eyes burning like cold fire. "This isn't over," he said. Leah's voice trembled, but she didn't look away. "It is for you." She hit the emergency release on the control panel. The lab doors blew open. The pressure wave knocked them both back as flames licked the edges of the room. Elias pulled her toward the corridor, coughing. "Leah, the whole place is going to blow." "I know," she said. "That's why we run." They stumbled through the tunnels, sirens wailing behind them. The ground shook, the walls splitting as smoke poured through the cracks. Ahead, a faint circle of light: the exit. When they burst into the cold dawn air, the mountain roared behind them. A column of fire erupted, the shock wave knocking them to the ground. Leah lay there, staring at the sky, chest heaving. Beside her, Elias groaned, rolling onto his side. His face was pale, blood streaking his temple. "You destroyed it," he said, almost in disbelief. She turned to him, voice low. "It was never meant to exist." He looked at her for a long moment, something broken flickering behind his eyes. "You remember now, don't you?" Leah nodded. "Enough to know what you did." "I'm sorry," he said. "If I could take it back." "You can't," she said. "None of us can." He reached out, hesitating. "Then what now?" She looked toward the horizon, where smoke rose like ghosts from the mountain. "Now," she said softly, "we finish what we started." In the distance, a helicopter whirred faint, growing louder. Elias pushed himself up. "He's not dead," he said. Leah didn't look away from the rising smoke. "I know." The wind carried the faintest echo of laughter: Silas's voice, or maybe memory itself refusing to die. Leah closed her eyes, the dawn light cutting through the haze. Then the reckoning begins. The hum came first. A deep metallic heartbeat that rolled through the floor and up into Leah's bones. She woke to the sound, eyes fluttering open beneath the cold glow of fluorescence. The ceiling above her was a sheet of frosted glass, blurring the shadows that moved beyond it. Every breath she took fogged the air, turning white before vanishing again. When she tried to move, leather straps bit into her wrists. A monitor beside her blinked green: pulse steady, oxygen low. Wires coiled from her skin to a console alive with faint static. Somewhere, water dripped in rhythm with her heartbeat. She lay still, listening. There was something terribly familiar in the cadence of the machines, the hiss of the ventilators. Her mind searched for a memory that wasn't there: only fragments, like torn photographs, blue light, shattered glass, a voice saying her name through smoke. Then she saw him. Silas stepped out of the reflection in the glass, the same immaculate calm she remembered from the lab years ago. His hair was whiter now, his eyes colder: polished stones reflecting the sterile light. "You're awake," he said, as though this were a reunion and not captivity. His tone carried the weight of rehearsed affection. "I hoped you would be. We have work to finish." Leah's throat ached when she tried to speak. Where's Elias? Silas smiled, faint and deliberate. Alive. For now. He's very difficult to kill, you know. You chose your protector well. He gestured to the glass wall behind him. Lights flickered, revealing towering tanks filled with luminous blue fluid. Human shapes floated inside motionless, their faces half-formed, serene, and terrifying. Leah's stomach turned. What is this? Perfection, Silas said softly. Your serum, completed. The human mind unshackled from pain, from memory, from defiance. You opened the door, Leah. I simply walked through it. Her voice came out a whisper. No, you twisted it. It was meant to heal. It still does, he said. They feel nothing now. No fear, no guilt, no sorrow. Isn't that mercy? She pulled against the restraints, fury giving her strength. That isn't mercy. That's erasure. For a heartbeat, silence stretched between them. Then a door slid open behind Silas, and two guards dragged in a figure bound at the wrists. Elias? He looked battered but alive, his temple matted with blood. The moment their eyes met, the chaos inside her settled into something clear and fierce. He managed a weak smile. Leah, he said, voice hoarse. Touching, Silas murmured. But unnecessary. He turned to the guards. Keep him where he can see. Leah struggled again. Don't hurt him. Why not? Silas's calm began to fracture. He's already hurt you. Repeatedly. He's the one who shot you, remember. The words struck, but she didn't flinch. Fragments of memory sharpened, the fire, Elias shouting her name, the muzzle flash, then darkness. Her voice steadied. He wasn't aiming at me. Silas's smile thinned. Revisionist history. You of all people should know memory is malleable. Elias raised his head, eyes locked on hers. He's lying, he rasped. You know it now. She did. She felt it not as a thought, but as a certainty in her pulse. Silas moved to a nearby console, his fingers dancing across the controls. Your blood is the last key, he said. One sample, and the process will be irreversible. Humanity will finally evolve. Leah's heart pounded. Evolve into what? Into obedience, he answered simply. The hum deepened, a tremor running through the floor. Monitors brightened, the figures in the tanks twitched, their limbs stirring as though in uneasy sleep. Elias strained against his captors. Leah, listen to me. We can still stop this. Silas turned, irritation breaking through his composure. Stop this? You already tried. You failed. You shot her. Elias glared at him. And I'll finish what I started. The guards yanked him back, but Leah's voice cut through the noise. Silas. He faced her again. There's one thing you never understood, she said. You can erase memory but not conscience. His eyes flickered with something close to fear. Big words for someone strapped to a table. Maybe, she said, but I remember enough. Her right hand flexed, searching for slack in the strap. She felt the faint edge of metal under her wrist, one of the electrodes used for monitoring. Slowly, she twisted it free. Across the room, Elias noticed. A subtle nod passed between them. Silas turned back to the console. Once the upload completes, there will be no more pain. No more defiance. Only peace. Leah's voice was almost gentle. That isn't peace. That silence. She jammed the electrode into the port on her restraint. Sparks burst. The leather strap hissed, smoking, then snapped. The machines screamed. Alarms flashed red, the tanks shuddered, cracks spider webbing across their surfaces. Silas spun around. What did you? But she was already reaching for the control panel beside the bed. Plan Echo, she whispered. Elias lunged. The nearest guard swung his weapon, but Elias ducked low, driving his shoulder into the man's chest. The other reached for his sidearm too slow. Leah slammed her palm on the release command, and every restraint on the platform popped free. The hum rose to a roar. The tanks behind Silas pulsed like beating hearts, light flaring through the smoke. Silas's calm vanished. You'll destroy everything. Leah's eyes blazed through the chaos. That's the point. The first tank burst with the sound of thunder trapped indoors. A geyser of blue light tore through the glass and drenched the room in shards. The second tank followed an instant later, and then the others, each rupture adding its voice to a single, deafening chord of collapse. Leah ducked behind the table, shielding her face as chemicals hissed across the floor. The smell was sharp, electrical, almost sweet. She heard the guards shouting, boots sliding on liquid metal. Elias threw himself toward her through the glare. We have to move. I can't see. He caught her hand, pulling her to her feet. Sparks rained from the ceiling as the power conduits blew, turning the air into a storm of white noise. Silas's voice cut through it all, ragged but still commanding. You think you've won, you've doomed everything. He stumbled toward the main console, one arm shielding his face. Behind him, the remaining tanks quivered, their contents boiling into mist. Leah followed his movement through the smoke. Somewhere inside her, the scientists still measured patterns, the overload sequence, the rising temperature, the way the blue glow shifted toward white. Every equation ended the same way. Elias, she said, it's going critical. He nodded, understanding without words. They moved together, instincts built from years of running. The hallway ahead was half collapsed, emergency lights pulsing crimson. Pipes screamed as pressure built. They sprinted through puddles of luminous fluid, their reflections flashing and vanishing with each step. Behind them, Silas staggered after, coughing, half-blind. You can't leave it like this. He shouted. You'll burn the evidence, the proof. Leah stopped at the doorway, turning back just long enough to meet his gaze through the haze. Maybe some things aren't meant to be proven. She slammed her hand on the emergency lock. The steel door rolled shut, sealing him in. His shouting turned into an echo, then into nothing at all. For a few seconds, they just breathed, the corridor trembling around them, the alarms now a single shriek. Then the world lurched. The explosion that followed was not one sound but many, metal tearing, fire inhaling oxygen, the deep groan of earth as the lab gave way. The blast threw them forward, dust and light swallowed everything. Dash dash. When the noise faded, there was rain. Leah blinked awake to find herself lying in mud at the edge of the forest, the sky above her washed in gray. Ash drifted like slow snowflakes. For a long time she didn't move, only listened to the rain on leaves, to her heartbeat still thudding against her ribs. Leah. Elias's voice was hoarse but alive. He was kneeling beside her, blood streaking down his temple, one arm wrapped around his ribs. He smiled weakly when she focused on him. Told you we could still stop it? She laughed once, the sound breaking halfway. We didn't stop it? We erased it? He helped her sit. Behind them, the hillside glowed with fire where the observatory had been. Plumes of smoke curled into the clouds, fading into the rain. For a while neither spoke. The world felt emptied, rinsed clean by ruin. Elias broke the silence first. What happens now? Leah stared at the distant blaze. The data's gone. The samples, the prototypes, everything. She looked at her hands, trembling but free. We start over. Somewhere else. He studied her face, the lines of exhaustion, the quiet steadiness behind her eyes. And the serum, it's finished. She hesitated. It lives in me. But I won't let anyone use it again. He nodded slowly. Then maybe it can die in peace. The wind shifted. Smoke rolled past them, carrying the faint smell of ozone and memory. Leah pushed herself to her feet. Every movement hurt, but it was a clean kind of pain, the kind that meant she was still alive. Elias rose beside her, steadying her when she swayed. They walked uphill until the burning valley lay behind them. On the ridge, the first pale band of dawn broke through the clouds. The light caught on the wet leaves, turning them silver. Leah stopped, looking back one last time. He thought he could rewrite the world. Elias followed her gaze. And you rewrote him instead. She shook her head. No. The fire did. He looked at her, rain tracing paths down his face. Leah. I'm sorry. For everything. For the shot, for the lies. She met his eyes. You were trying to save me. Maybe we both were. For a moment, neither moved. The distance between them held every word they hadn't said, every truth they'd been too afraid to face. Then she reached for his hand. Come on, she whispered. Before the rain stops. They walked together through the thinning mist, the forest opening before them like an unwritten page. Behind them, the ruins smoldered quietly, a final heartbeat fading into earth. The world felt fragile, but alive.